All right, so I made a new chicken coop, and we decided we're going to have 3 chicken coops for different reasons. We'll have 3 flocks living in the same common area. One of the reasons we're having 3 chicken coops is as the numbers go down, we can combine into one. If you put chickens in a house, lock them in there for about 5 days, they always go back home. They're like GPS trained. They'll go right into that same coop, so we can keep 3 separate groups of chickens living in a common run in 3 different houses. So right now we have newly hatched baby chicks in the church. Our older birds are in the jail, and our young but not recently hatched, they're about 10 weeks old, will be back in the saloon soon. But right now we have them. This is the other reason why we want 3 groups of chickens. If we separate them partially out of a house and take them out, which we're going to do with our chicken tractor. This is our chicken tractor that we usually use for meat birds, but these are they're too small really to be put in with our larger chickens. They'll just get beat on. So we'll let them be in here and get used to being on grass. They can roost back there on that feeder, and we'll move this around our yard to areas that are not great grass. This is pretty much weeds here. It's not very productive. It's not green all summer. So we'll put the chickens in here, get a little bit of disturbance, a little bit of chicken manure down. They'll get a little bit of nutrients from what is in here, and then we move them. You can see they were over here. That's about the amount of disturbance that we're looking for. Just a little bit of manure. That'll green right up, and that'll be some of the greenest parts of our lawn by, I'd say, probably 3-4 weeks. So anyway, we use this house to brood those chickens, because once we separate the roosters out and they get up to size, they'll go back in here. We'll lock them in for probably 5 nights, move them one evening, then lock them in, don't let them out for 5 nights. So this is our first chicken house first of these. We built many. First one that actually functions well. So it's a saloon. That's the theme of it. Our little western town. Go in, I'll show you it and point out the things that I don't like about it. So it's only 4x8. So I only like to keep 12 birds in total. The 4x8 size makes it awkward for roosting bars. One across there, but then we have the door, so we have to keep them away. And then over here, their water usually goes down on that block. I had to put something above it to keep the chicken manure off. And then there's our feeder. We have a little sulfur on the floor to keep any bugs from moving in while they're not in here. There's our auto feeder. Fill that up with pellets. It holds 6 bags, so 300 pounds. And on the back, we have a gauge. You can just come look at it from the outside. How much feed's in there. Collecting eggs, going in the door, do the water, whatever. You check the gauge. Real simple to see where we're at on food, pellets. And then come over to this is the jailhouse. This is the one we built last year, and it is, in my opinion, somewhat of an upgrade from this one, but it has a couple of things that I don't like about the size. It's 8 feet, 8 by 8, so it's a little short of 7 by, or a little short of 8, so I don't know, 7'9" by 8. Has a few things I don't love about it that we tried to improve upon on the other one. So this is the nesting box. Works fairly well. We got all the dividers in there. One thing I do like is we put the water right here at the door, so you don't even have to go in to do much with water. Do it from right outside. We bed chickens on straw now instead of wood shavings, as long as we can keep finding a clean source of straw. This is oat straw. We bought it for mulch, and the guy told me that it had not been sprayed. So I didn't investigate it, but it hadn't been sprayed because it wasn't even harvested for the oats. So the oat seed was all over it. So I couldn't use it for mulch. So I started using it for bedding in here. And the bedding is great because it's also got oats in it that they eat out of. So that's the egg door I use now. That is the only one I'm going to use. It's made by JVR. It works flawlessly. I've tried everything under the sun, and that one just absolutely works. So the only thing I don't like about them is they have that sensor. If something's standing in the doorway, it'll stop the door from closing. And the problem that I had with that, it was more when we were running it off solar, is a chicken will come in and just stand there at nighttime when it's time to close, and it'll cycle and cycle and cycle, and eventually it stops cycling, and then you end up with the door open and a coop full of dead birds at night. So one of the things I don't love about this coop is, in order to run roosting bars across it, you got to have some type of support hanging down. I like to use logs or small trees because, chickens, birds in general don't always want to roost on flat things. I know there's a lot of information saying you're going to get bubble foot from them roosting on round. I think that's from people using dowels, but my roosting bars are natural logs. So with the extra width, when you end up getting 10 birds up on there, they're 5 pounds a piece, 50 pounds, kind of bows and they snap. So that's one of the reasons why I like the shorter. I think this is a little bit too wide for our situation. We did put a fly trap in there, which I think it's all the moisture from all the rain. We did see a few gnats in here. Usually sulfur just takes care of all that. But so this is the feeder in here. This one is considerably larger. We have those feed ports at the bottom. She doesn't want me in here. It has those feed ports in here. And we have the feed gauge on the back. So it's right off the door, easy to see. That one holds, it's 13 bags, so 650 pounds of feed. Works nicely. And we get to our church, and I think it is the most improved. The one problem with this saloon building is the somewhat flat roof. I did that to have the look kind of a Western building, but it vents fairly well. That's why we don't have battens on the front to let airflow through there. But I noticed that in the dead of winter, it seems a little musty in there sometimes. So we're on to the church. So all the back doors, I hardware cloth them. and put a piece of plywood. See the plywood, it slides up and latches at the top. Don't want to keep this open too long. We'll go in a minute. That slides up and closes for the winter time to keep some of the wind out. But I think this is going to be the best version. I'll get right in here. We have baby chicks in here. I think that's going to be the best version because the steeple is going to pull moisture. I noticed when I was in here and I put the roof on that with the slightest amount of sun on that black roof, it just starts pulling air. So in the spring and fall, and hopefully even the winter, the roof system should keep the air moving because moisture is not good for any animals, especially chickens. They exhale large amounts of water. They don't urinate. So one of the ways they get rid of water, other than through their poop, is through their breath. So they breathe out, exhale a lot of water. We put the gauge for the feed on the inside of this one because we don't plan on actually walking by. Everything is to try and be easier. I haven't put the cups down through the bottom for the feed yet because, well, we have baby chicks in here. So I don't want them getting into the cup, getting lost, and possibly dying. Those cups do come with little caps, but trying to get those caps back out is a pain in the neck. In my experience, I don't know if the chickens push them in or what, but they just become slightly difficult. So we hatched out 27 birds. We'll pull the roosters. Same thing here. When they get big enough, when those ones get big enough to come in with these birds will come out and go to the chicken tractor and do some yard work or whatever. We also want to be able to come in and so these will start laying probably late October, and usually on their first year they'll lay right through the winter. So that gives us the opportunity, and the ones that are in the chicken tractor right now will start laying in late August, early September, when these girls start molting and stop laying. So when they stop laying from molting, we will put them in the chicken tractor, take the chicken tractor up into the garden and run it over some parts of the garden that are done with production for the year, and then we'll plant cover crop behind them. But my plan is to, where I'm going to grow corn, I will run my pigs through real quick, let them eat up the corn stalks after we harvest. And then I'll take the chickens through to kind of straighten that out a little bit. We'll plant our cover crop, and there we go. The chickens, even though they will not be laying, they won't be freeloading either. They'll still be doing beneficial work. So that is kind of why we have 3 chicken coops. We can just grab an entire flock out of here, not really disturb the system, and go put them to work doing various things. Some of these will ultimately go in the chicken tractor and go down in the pasture behind the cows, and some of the problem areas in there, work that over. We have kind of a mess from bringing building materials in through there and hauling the compost out this spring with all the rain, so I did run a tiller through it. We'll see what comes back. It won't be great, but it is part of the how it works. So I will make another video on how I plan on getting that green again, that area. And we are moving this fence back. It stops about 30 feet from the greenhouse. I plan on moving this fence right to the greenhouse. So give them a little bit more outside area. As it's starting to warm up, the chickens really enjoy the shade of all these native, or I don't know if they're native, but all these trees that have been here. So they like to go under them. So the grasses are really not as necessary in the spring or in the summer. So that gives us the opportunity to fence that messy, muddy area off if it dries up at all and get some stuff growing in there for chickens. But we'll get to that. But yeah, that's our 3-coop system. It's to put them to work. We came up with this idea this year that we do enjoy chickens and we need more of them to lay enough eggs. But and we'll keep that rooster. He does very well. But we also we don't want to overrun one area. Moving, 50 or 60 hens for us would mean it would have to be a massive or multiple chicken tractors, and when they're not in use, I just don't really have the land that I'm willing to give up to store them and the cost to build them and all that. So this gives us the opportunity. I can grab, that'll house 50 meat birds. So if I put 25 laying hens in it and move it every day, it'll be very good for the ground. The chickens will get some nutrients from it, and my soil will also. So right now we're just using it for, like I said, improving the lawn. But we have garden beds coming this fall that will go empty, and they will go in there, do some work. Hopefully, I'm thinking that even though it'll be fall, if we run them up through the garden, through the grasses and everything, we may be able to eliminate some of the slug problem we're having right now. I know ducks are better at slugs, but I've seen my chickens eat slugs, so we'll see. Should be a fun project. Stay tuned. There won't be a lot going on for a while, but we'll just keep moving them around and around. I'm not reseeding either, but you can see this area. It's got this ugly grass, whatever it is. I never seeded this, but somewhere in that seed bank in the soil is more favorable plants. And also here in the Wheaties lawn area, we have all this, I think it's called plantain or some plantain, and they will come and they love that stuff. So it gives them a chance to be out on grass and get used to the outside situation. It provides them great safety. I've only had a few times that something was able to get into that, and that was because I didn't keep it flat to the ground. That's why I have chicken wire around the bottom. It's kind of messy, but it keeps the predators from being able to get to it and us moving it as much as we do. Bigger birds will be daily moves, but when they're this small, we'll go 2 days. Just let them get it beat up a little. They eat those weeds out. They get some good nutrition, different minerals from that, and they catch a worm or two and fertilize our lawn. So we don't use any synthetic fertilizers, and I'm surely not wasting compost to grow grass. But we can use chickens to improve our lawn, at least make it more, I don't know, even if it is, make it more appealing to me by the end of summer. And even if it didn't do that, it's a feed source for them. And it's just a win-win. So when we used to free range the chickens, They ran this area a lot because it was close to home. That didn't used to be fenced in until the fox came and ate them. We just let them run for years. And this area of our lawn, you can see, is some of the best of it there is. And that is just from the chickens. They would go from here. Well, originally we kept them in that barn, and we had a chicken coop over there and one up there. But they would just come this area here from the for the shade and work this ground, not really go just over there. And the difference is huge. So we're hoping to replicate that. And there are some weeds, but not as bad. I'm not looking for a golf course. But yeah, that's our chicken coop system. So we have the original saloon. So it's the Over Easy Saloon, the Over Easy Sheriff Department Jail, and now the church. So I didn't show that, but most of that church was framed with um, recycled 4x4s and 2x4s and all that. And then we had a local sawmill guy backyard. He bought, or I bought from him 1x10s. I split them and 45 the edges and stacked them like siding for the front so it has the white clapboard look. That took quite a bit of time, so I didn't do the sides the exact same way. I did 45 the edges and overlap them to help keep the water out and still ventilate good. But it was really quite affordable to build. And I like using the rough cut 1x lumber. It's hemlock, and what I have noticed is it's pretty much rodent proof. They don't chew on it. Not that we have any rodent problems, but we have in the past when we used to build chicken coops out of OSB board. The mice and rats would just chew right through the floors of it and everything else. So that's when we started going to either putting hardware cloth down before plywood. That's what we did in our saloon. But the other two, it's all rough cut 1x. It's actually slightly cheaper than plywood at this time. And there's that. I did shingle this roof, which added a lot of cost compared to metal, but this is my view off of my back porch, so I kind of wanted it to look nice too. Not that the other ones don't, they look fine. I just thought this one should be the best looking one. So there you go, our chicken system.